A couple of years ago, the city of Bangor installed several public restrooms after receiving community feedback on the need. Since then, new concerns have come about due to multiple restrooms being used for everything but their purpose. During a city council budget workshop Wednesday night, Bangor officials talked with the director of Bangor Parks and Rec, Tracy Willett. Challenges have been continuous at 2 units on Broad Street and at Abbott Square. City Manager Carolyn Lear says maintenance crews have replaced more than 170 hand sanitizers, 8 paper dispensers, and 5 doors since last July. Cleanliness and the frequency of graffiti is also a concern, so they're exploring the option of moving those units.
What are the options that we should pursue going forward? Is it keeping some of our existing facilities open on a more regular basis than we do now? Is it something of a more permanent solution? We also talked about last night about increasing signage around downtown to alert visitors of the facilities that are available. So as we go along in the process, balancing the need to have these public facilities available, but continue to be able to maintain them in a way that everybody would like to use them.
Willett says there's currently $200,000 in the Parks and Recreation budget for ongoing maintenance. They have asked the council to keep that there in the new budget. Once that is decided, they can move forward with the possibility of deploying the units at Broad Street and Abbott Square to Essex Woods and the city.